Regular normal guy, lasik chunjik chunjik, he was doing small work for his daily livelihood, lasik chunjik. So what happened was, lasik chunjik, he felt like, I'm not happy with life. What am I doing with my life? I want to do something big. I want to do something special with my life. I'm not happy going to work every day, doing small job here and there, earning a little money for my life. I want to do something special, something big. He started thinking like this. And one day he started preparing chapati. You know chapati, right? Yeah. He started, and he had enough money to make at least 3 chapatis every day for his breakfast. Remember this. He used to make 3 chapatis every morning for his breakfast. It so happened after some time that one day he saw every morning when he makes 3 chapatis, 1 chapati is lost. 1 chapati is lost. Tayi chikun skusi kere metkem. Why me sambal tang skya hai? Ye tagi sum jaktang chut. I tagi chik chik kusi kerkem. One day it happened like this. Next day he prepares another 3 chapati. Quite happy he wants to eat. Just before he ate the breakfast, again 1 chapati is missing. Hey, he was perplexed. He was confused. What's going on? Who is taking my chapati? Yeah, next day he made another 3 chapatis. Again 1 chapati is missing. And suddenly he thought, I must watch my chapatis and see who is taking my chapati. Okay. So one day he made the chapati and he kept watching, hiding somewhere, and he kept watching who is taking or who is stealing my chapati. And it so happened he saw a little mouse taking his chapati. So he told stories are stories, right? Even the mouse can speak in stories. So stories are stories. So he told the mouse, why do you take my chapati? I'm a poor man. I barely manage to earn money enough to have 3 chapatis every morning. The mouse says, Kerang lanchak chanino. Kerang lanchak chanino. Wah, nga kazo lanchak chanino. Kerang lanchak chanino. Kerang tayi chik chik kerala kerang chimtong tongduk. Kerang lanchak chanino zuduk. Tio chik zera nangyam po tene kwe zuduk. Nga kazo lanchak chanino. Kerang kazo patach. Songs te patach yosang. Kerang lanchak chan kazo enok. He says like, go and find out for yourself why you are such a miserable person dying for 1 chapati. So he says, okay, if you say so, I will go and find out what is the reason of me living such a simple life and having all the time bad luck. Bad luck. So he sets out to find out what his life is all about and something greater meaning to his life. So he sets off to find out. And he wanted to ask a question to the Buddha. He wanted to ask a question to the Buddha. So somebody told him, only Buddha can answer your life's question of what kind of destiny you want to have. So he sets out, with this mouse advice number, he sets out to find an answer to his life's question. Okay. So as he set off on a journey to find out the meaning of his life, or he wanted to ask questions about life. So he came to a forest, and in forest there was a little hut. Khampa jo kyasano. Te khampa bena amig na pomig do ekya. Magar pomo khete na bilkuli handang inkya. Speratang mian ganji. Pomo khete na handang. Speratang mian mekya. Somasana koy hol dus kyasano. Julie amale nga chan mundik song to mane ni thuprinje chachen ba you baksis, please can I stay overnight? Can you host me for the night? Next morning I'm going because I have a very important task in my life. I'm going to go to the Buddha and ask him a question. So the woman says, oh really? I will let you stay for the night with one condition. And the condition is that I also have a question for the Buddha. So if you promise to ask my question to the Buddha, I will let you stay for the night. So the man says, doesn't matter. Sure, I will be very happy to take your question to the Buddha and ask him. So he stays overnight. And the woman says in the morning, my question is that my daughter, my only daughter, is dumb. She cannot speak. So I want to ask the Buddha, when and how my daughter can speak. Ngepomos pera nam tangyana nokzete sanges da tizde tu pahos. Tira ngetinze te kana khamba sonste khocharu. Chen ko Himali rikheto la leptu. Himali rikheto. He comes to the Himalayan mountains and it's so high mountain. And there he sees an ascetic. Like in India, we have a lot of ascetics, right? You have seen, have you seen any ascetics like in some YouTube or something? We have a lot of naked ascetics in India who stay in the high mountains in snow without any clothes meditating. So you have seen, right? There are a lot of videos nowadays out there. And I met also sadhus who actually live in ice caves without any clothes, naked. You know, they can do that through the power of meditation. So he meets one of these ascetic, and he was on the top of the Himalayas meditating. And he had, you know, these Hindu sadhus, they carry a stick. You know, they carry a stick. Berkek na lota khurdukchama. So that stick is like a magical stick. So he meets this guy, and he has to go down the Himalayan mountains, and it's a long way to get to the Buddha. And when he meets the ascetic, he says to the ascetic asked him, "Hey, where are you going?" He said, "Well, I'm going to the Buddha to ask a question about my life, about my destiny." So the ascetic says, "Oh, really? I have also a very important question I want to ask the Buddha. I've been in this place for over 500 years. I've been in the mountain meditating and trying to go to heaven, I want to ask the Buddha, what must I do to go to heaven? I've been practicing and living here for 500 years, but I don't know. I'm still here. I want to go to heaven. So what must I do? Please, can you ask the question to the Buddha?" He says, "Oh yeah, sure. I'll ask the question to the Buddha for you." So the man says, "For your favor, I can help you to cross the Himalayan mountain and go down the mountain." And he used his stick, which is a magic stick. He used the stick and helped him to cross the mountain. And in one moment, he's down in the Himalayas, down to the Himalayan mountain. And then there, he comes across a big river, huge river. It was very difficult to cross the river. And then suddenly on the bank of the river, he sees a huge turtle. Then a turtle says, "Where are you going?" So he says, "Well, I'm going to Buddha to ask a question, very important question about my life." So he says like, "Oh really? I also have a question." So the turtle says, "I've been meditating here for 1,000 years, hoping to become a dragon. Los tongchik balangai ka sungsten nga dragon gurche rakpa. Okay. So he says like, "Yes, I can ask you a question to the Buddha. Yes, I can ask. What must you do to become a dragon?" So the turtle says, "Well, for your favor, I can help you to cross the river." So he says, "Can you sit on my shell so I can cross you over to the other side?" So the turtle helps him to cross the river and takes him to the other side. Now, from there he goes, and then he sees the Buddha was teaching to thousands of people. People were listening to the Buddha, and he goes there. And as he reached there, I will take only 3 questions. So when he reached there, and when the Buddha announced that today I'm going to entertain only 3 questions, but he had 4 questions, right? So the man was really confused. He came all the way from home, crossing all these places, only to ask his questions to the Buddha. And Buddha says he will entertain only 3 questions, and now he has 4 questions, right? So the man started thinking. He started thinking, well, you know, I'm a normal human. I'm living my life. I go to work every day. I get a little money. And I still manage to survive. So he starts thinking to himself, well, let me see. Which question should I ask? So he thinks of the old woman who has a daughter and she's deaf. She cannot speak, right? So he thinks like, this woman, her only daughter cannot speak. So maybe I should help her because my situation is not as bad as the old women whose daughter cannot speak. I can go to work, I don't have any responsibility, I can somehow manage to survive. But the women, her question is very important because her only daughter cannot speak. So maybe I will ask the daughter's question, the lady's question. And secondly, he thinks like this ascetic, he has been meditating for like 500 years only to go to heaven. He has been waiting there for 500 years. I'm not waiting there for 500 years. I've been just living for this life. So my question is not as important as this ascetic's question is. Then he thinks of the turtle. He thinks like 1,000 years he's been waiting to become a dragon. Poor guy. and he helped me. So I think my situation is not as bad as the turtle. So maybe I will ask his question. So finally the guy, he decides to ask the question of all the other three and skip his question. Okay, so he asked the Buddha, Lord, I have three questions. And one question is the question of this old lady. Her only daughter cannot speak. She is deaf, she is dumb. What must she do so that her daughter can speak? So the Buddha says, she will speak when she meets the right person to marry. The right person to marry. So kwe nam kwa Quran sai puja batu nama chuchesipia te jaga kwe spera taen zitupa. Demo chustungini. And then he asked the ascetics question. He says, there's an ascetic in the Himalayas. He's been meditating there for 500 years to go to heaven. What must he do to go to heaven? So the Buddha says, the day he give up the stick, the magic stick, because the ascetic was so attached to his magic stick. He said, the day he give up the magic stick, he will go to heaven. Very happy. Answer is given. Then he asked the question of the turtle, and he says, there's a turtle that I met below the Himalayan mountain. He helped me cross the river, and he has a question. He's been there for 1,000 years waiting to become a dragon. What must he do to become a dragon? The Buddha says he must renounce or give up his huge shell. And the day he leaves the shell, he will be a dragon. Very happy. The man was very happy. Now he has answer for all the three people. So he's very happy. He comes back on the same way, meets the turtle first. So he says, our turtle was very excited. He was waiting for him. And he says, hey, tell me what the Buddha answered for my question. Did you ask my question? He said, yeah, sure. I asked your question to the Buddha and I have an answer for you. He said, so tell me, I'm so excited. What must I do to become a dragon? He says, well, sir, Buddha says, you must renounce, you must give up this heavy shell, and suddenly you will become a dragon. So he says, oh, is that so? So he takes up his huge shell and takes it off. The moment he takes off the shell, inside the shell there were so many jewelries, precious pearls and jewels. It was full of beautiful jewels and pearls. So he says I just throw my shell and suddenly becomes a dragon. And as soon as he becomes a dragon, he says to himself, well, now I don't need my shell anymore. So the guy says, but you have so many precious jewels inside your shell. He said, well, I don't need this anymore, so you can have all my jewelry and everything. Very happy. The man becomes very rich. And then he comes and meets the ascetic on the Himalayan plain. And he says, he was also waiting for him. Yes, what did Buddha tell? What was the answer for my question? And he says, well, the Buddha says, the day you give up the attachment to your magic stick, you'll go to heaven. So he says, oh really? So he gives up the stick to this man and says, well, you can have the stick. And as soon as he gives the stick to this guy, he goes to heaven. Right? So now he has a magic stick. He can use it to cross the Himalayan mountain. And he used the magic stick, and he has the jewelry, and he goes with this, and he knocks at the door of this old woman and says, excuse me, lady, I'm back with the answer for your daughter. As soon as he knocks and says, well, I have the answer for your daughter, when and how she can speak. As soon as he said this, the girl started to speak. And the girl started to speak because he was the right person to marry her. So the story is that when you actually care for others, you put others before you, then every good thing comes to you whether you like it or not. So then when he gave the answer and said your daughter will start speaking when she meets the right person to marry, then the mother says, well, who could be the right person than you? And she said, will you marry my daughter? Because now you have all the wealth you need, you have the power of magic that you need, and my daughter is perfect for you. So he marries her and lives a happy life ever after. Songba during story kenetio hago gosano ata janton bo mari chuches ata rangdot jan bo mi chuches hango pariachi chuches janton kija khachigina daksa dama da dema miduk samatuba Magar ya rang dungin na janme peta duk sang yaar. Wa ana chik chik yot kya nga English na spatan nga ne zuntangin na galitangin na sama dupa. But when sometimes we don't care for others, okay? So sometimes we neglect others. And that is the reason why many a times we are not happy. His Holiness Dalai Lama always says, Kingata is kitpo chun samna. Okay? Always try to do good to others. Okay? There are many people who comes to Dalai Lama and says, I'm not a happy person, I have this problem. And one of his very powerful answer is that you keep doing things for others. You live for others sometimes. Right? When you live for others, janme pya dona, mata amma se mena skitpo yonga zerano. Hagomogo, te pya ituchos, de rooms pe kana ngata chi hagono sena, mata janme skolang sambadansi. Janme kola? Ta ngata pari chi chono ke nga yu mera kao mera ngalan chaksa nga phala na ngyostana nga yu khampa mera nga yu mera nga phama med nga yu med au med zeren do no pa maga tyo med zeren do na ngam ponga tan kule tyo hagono janme pya sambek tang stana ngata chitat kantat po ngata gosdom boyo dringe tangpo sene ngang takpo nga chupo man magar inna thugu thangma lavenda we janton chyo na ngam po ngangara michena chamchu gosdom boyo dringa thopte. So nga tizam sikta zerngan cherak janton choche sekene chamsik pantos na nozel kan. You remember the three words yesterday I taught you about: sympathy, empathy, and compassion. Sympathy, empathy, and compassion. Mata sympathy choche sta lamon. Lagas pe changme zusme na gatit kya. Empathy choche po chachi kaksaregen. Maga changme na kaksan bo chino compassion. Chino compassion. Compassion bo jane cheez ete. Ma healing feelings na se bang tang se cheche sang no shung se madu mane chikje phok to na lagor bar bang tang se na song sang ngatang samalta se do no ota kampa chaga kudin okay ngata jikje pho na po khadul lo ji bang tang se na ngati chos tang jis tyo chona ngatang sama skito